Hi, this is Rachel coming to you with this week's Sparkle of Shabbat. Please excuse the background noise. I'm in the airport. We are heading down to Boca to see Seth's mom, and I'm looking forward to spending time with her. I wanted to share with you a story that's been brought down in our tradition, and feel free to comment if you know the source of it. It was told to us by our Rabbi Stuart Weinblatt, and I have looked and can't quite find the source, but it is brought down in our tradition that we were celebrating something in a village, a bunch of Israelites, and this is more of an ancient story. And the rabbi in the town told everyone in the village to please bring a cup of wine with them and to fill this large cistern or container with wine, and for everybody to do this before Shabbat, and that everybody in the village should participate in contributing, so that when Shabbat came and there was this big celebration, that everybody would have wine to drink. What happened in the village was that each person assumed that their neighbor would be the one to bring the wine, and they thought, well, you know, if everyone's going to bring wine, will anyone notice if I just pour in some water? And slowly but surely, people started to come to this conclusion, but nobody knew that the other person was doing this. So people pour, the Shabbat day is happening, Friday, I should say, Erev Shabbat, and people are getting ready, and people are coming to the center of town, and they're pouring their liquids from their cups into this large cistern, and then Shabbat happens, and the rabbi brings everyone together, and they're all celebrating, and it's a lovely day, and they go to pour the liquid out of this beautiful town cistern, and it turns out that it's completely filled with water. That every single person in the town assumed that their neighbor would be bringing the wine, and so why should they do that? Because their neighbor and all the neighbors in the town would be bringing wine. So what would anybody notice if one person brought a glass of water? Well, it turns out everybody brought a glass of water because they assumed that their neighbors would be carrying their weight, and so maybe it wasn't necessary for them, or maybe their contribution just didn't matter. So I imagine you can draw the conclusion from here. But I want to remind myself and all of us that every contribution matters, that we are all needed in our communities and in this world to make our contribution and to use our strengths that we're given and to ensure that we really are putting them to use. If we think that the world won't go on without our contribution as it's supposed to, that's not correct, because each of us is needed with our talents and with our strengths to contribute. And I think especially during difficult times, it can be hard to think that our contribution actually makes a difference, but it really does. And it's for each of us to figure out what we need to do. And I know we've had many different suggestions about how to help, and there's many different ways to do that. Some might be on front lines, and some might be behind the scenes, but every act of kindness, every effort, every time we stand up for ourselves, every time we do a mitzvah, every time we dig deep and maybe bite our tongue, or every time we dig deep and do an act of kindness that we weren't thinking of, is so important. So my sparkle for Shabbat would be, may we each realize the value of our own individual contributions in our communities and in our world to make sure that everything runs as smoothly and beautifully as possible. Shabbat Shalom.